Hi, Ivan again. Welcome back to the series. Welcome to video number 18 in our continuing conversation on mastering men's haircutting. Like, comment, share, notifications, subscribe. You know all the housekeeping stuff. We say it on every single video. Now it's time to get into tapering, clipper over comb. And when the system we're going to use is something called panel cutting. Panel cutting is a system where we break the head down into a series of vertical overlapping panels. Here's how it's going to work. Panel number 1 is at the center back of the head right here. It extends from north of the occipital to south of the perimeter, and it's about 1.25 inches wide. Actually, it's about the size of the comb area that is hidden underneath my comb right here. That is panel number 1. And the way panel cutting works is we're going to cut panel number 1. I am going to cut the hair that is hidden underneath the comb. That's all I'm going to cut. I'm going to cut any other hair anywhere on the head until panel number 1 represents a little finished haircut. Panel number 1 will then become my guide. That's right. It is my guide. It's the answer to the question in clipper over comb, where's the guide? Who creates the guide? How do you create the guide? When do you create the guide? Let's do it. Let's create panel number 1's guide. Don't cut any hair over here. Don't go over here at all. Stay in the center back. Down low, we hold the comb flatter. Up high, we rock it out. Remember our grip. Remember our angle. And it looks like this. We work our way up, we work our way up, we work our way up till we run out of hair. Now there's a little bit of blending to be done there, but that's not the focus of this video right now. I cut just this area right here as panel number 1. I cut panel number 1 and I cut panel number 1 and I cut panel number 1 until I am happy with panel number 1. I don't cut hair anywhere else on the head other than panel number 1. Panel number 1 becomes my little finished guide. When panel number 1 is good, and I'm checking my notes here to see what we're gonna, that's the panel cutting description that we wanted to do in this video. And we're gonna cut panel number 1, and we're gonna make sure panel number 1 is good. And only when we're happy with panel number 1 are we ready to move on to panel number 2. Panel number 2 is 50% of previously cut panel number 1 serving as my guide, and 50% uncut hair living next door. It looks like this. I'm going to use the leading edge of my comb to look for the shorter hair in the comb. There's my guide, and the longer hair next door. And I'm going to match it up. 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 Now it's important to notice I'm still cross-cutting. I'm working across the teeth. But even though the entire comb does not contain hair to be cut, that's hair I already cut. I'm still going to start there and carry all the way through. I'm going to start there and carry all the way through. Just because all I see is a little bit of hair here, I'm not going to chop at just that little bit of hair, because if I chop, 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 my haircut's going to be chip, chip, chop. I want smooth fluidity to the surface. So I'm going to use long, smooth strokes across the entire comb as I work my way up in panel number 2. When panel number 2 is finished, it's time to move on to panel number 3. And panel number 3 is 50% of previously cut panel number 2. That's right, we don't go back to panel number 1. Each panel becomes the guide for the next successive panel. 1 is the guide for 2. 2 is the guide for 3. 3 is the guide for 4, and so on. I'm going to cut panel number 3. And here we go. We're now in panel number 3. I'm taking nice, smooth, fluid strokes across the entire surface of the comb. I'm working from low to high. I'm rolling the comb. I'm keeping the comb at an angle. I'm holding the comb in my thumb and forefinger. There's a lot of moving parts there. There's a lot of things going on. You're seeing it all, every snip and every clip in this series on mastering classic men's haircutting. I want to check my notes before I say we're done with this one. Okay, we described panel cutting. We cut panel number 1, and we cut panel number 2. We also cut panel number 3. So we're going to wrap this one up. We're going to come back and finish the back portion of the head in the next video before we get ready to jump to the front corner. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Use the link, get some combs. We'll get to work.